welcome back for another video about Configuration Manager. On last video, we start the whole process of upgrading the Configuration Manager. We got stuck in a few issues, let's say like that, on the prior requirement, and today we are going to start fixing. But before we start fixing, I received a few messages of people asking, can you explain a little bit more about this or about that? So I'll look at those three issues and start looking at every single one, how we actually see, is it a problem? And if it's a problem, how to fix. So the first thing is, let's go to the documentation. It's quite simple here. It's .NET 4.8. So the idea is let's download 4.8 and let's install. So I have here from Microsoft itself, the installation of 4.8. And you can see here there is the download of the package. So it's quite simple. So I'm going to start with the SQL and then later on Configuration Manager. And any server that we add at a later stage or any client, I will start doing this as well. So the first thing is on the SQL. I already download this on the C tape. And it's just a double click is going to start extracting the files and then will allow me to install. While it's extracting, I'm going now to Configuration Manager, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I download again on the C tape, and going to double click to start the extraction of the file. So .NET is quite simple. We are going to still see later on how to install. But while it's extracting, let me talk about another problem, so I don't want to keep you guys here just looking extracting files. So if I scroll all the way down, we can see here, check HTTPS or enhanced HTTP. This is something we are going to look at later, but what I want to bring to you is again on the Configuration Manager documentation, removed and deprecated features for Configuration Manager. If we scroll down here, actually it's easy to search HTTPS. So we can see here, sites that allow client communication, configure site for HTTPS or enhanced HTTP. And tells here a little bit more about that. But what I want to show you here is this part here. So the first one, it has been deprecated or announced in March 2021, and the support for normal HTTP will be removed on the first release after November 2022. So 21.11, you still have it. 22.03, 22.07, we still support, but probably 22.11 will not be supported anymore. So we still have time. Well, we are recording this in March 2022, so we still have time, so we can do this at a later stage. In the future, if you have this, you need to enable eHTTP or HTTPS before actually starting the upgrade. So now let's stop talk about the requirements. Let's install .NET. .NET installation is quite easy. It's basically select and install. So I accept the license term and click install. That's it. Let's do the same on the SQL. And this will take roughly about a couple of minutes. Should not take longer. And while it's doing this whole installation, remember you have time. Just like the video, share with your friends and co-work so everyone knows more about Configuration Manager and Microsoft Endpoint Manager. And also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. All those things are free. And if you have questions, comments, leave in the comments below so we can actually talk about your what do you think about the videos, what is your experience with Configuration Manager. Let's have a chat there. And of course, if you have questions, remember, #AskRaphael, so it's easy for me to find. So on the SQL, I'm just going to click here, yes. I'm going to reboot those machines at later on anyway. before actually we continue the installation. So the installation here on the SQL is completed. I'm going to click Finish. Also, it finished on the Configuration Manager. I will click here Finish. And of course, I'm going to reboot both servers later before we actually do the upgrade. But I just click here to restart later. And the last one I want to show you guys before I reboot the servers is the potential SQL performance or the backlog. So there is this documentation here, and I already have it open here. And we have the SQL change tracking cleanup. So, and what I said is in terms of this performance is I'm in a lab, so this should not be a concern. But what exactly we are looking at? So basically, is every time there is a heavy change, there is a table in the SQL that has some data. And if this data is older than a number of days, Configuration Manager will complain. So to understand a little bit more, there is this performance tuning SQL Server change tracking. So, and then here he does explain exactly what is happening, how can we do, and a lot more in depth what it is all about. But for us, it's quite simple. And what I meant for lab, I turn off and turn on this server quite often. So I don't keep the server running 24/7 where things should clean up itself. So then in Configuration Manager, what do we need to do? First, we need to connect as admin. So I will show you exactly how to do that. And then we use a couple of commands to see exactly what is happening. So on the configuration, on the SQL server, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open here the SQL Server Management Studio. And I'm going to connect as normal user, okay? So I'm not going to do anything crazy at the beginning because it's my second connection will be as admin. Okay, so first connection, connect as myself, a administrator. And the second connection, you can see here there is a button, database engine query next to new query. And this is where I'm going to click and I'm going to log on as admin. So you can see here, what I'm going to do is just put the word admin before and click connect. So now I am connected as administrator. So if I go back to the database, to the documentation, it says here, admin and the instance name, so my server name. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to execute this store procedure. I'm going to change here for the, I'm going to use cm_p01 and execute that store procedure. So you can see here the data that I have is 9 days old, is 21 days old. So it's quite old data. So it's over the 7 days that Microsoft actually recommends. So this is why Microsoft is complaining. So what Microsoft tells us to do is, to do the cleanup, we need to do this execute here again. So I'm going to copy and paste and execute. So depends on the size of the database, it may take longer. Depending on the size of the database, is going to be shorter. So, and then I'm going to go back and see if this has changed anything. You can see here now, I have 0 days. So that error should not repeat again. But before we actually redo the validation, let's start rebooting both servers, and then we can actually look at the configuration manager side. So restart on the SQL, and I am going to do the same for the configuration manager server. And while it's rebooting, installing some updates, wasn't expected to install updates. I will pause the video and I will be right back with you guys as soon as both servers are back. So reboot the server, came back, so let's just go there on the updates. And you can see here, we can still look at if there is anything else we need to do. So the prior requirement is still there. And now we need to rerun the prior requirement to make sure everything has actually completed successfully. So the only one that we already know that will not get fixed, or at least on this video, is the HTTPS or enhanced HTTP. So to redo the prior requirement check, we go at the same place, administration, update and servicing, select the update. So in this case, it's configuration manager 2111, and run the prereqcheck again. And you can see here the state is checking prior requirements or prerequisites. And again, let's go to the monitoring. And shortly, we will see here that the configuration manager 2111 will have everything hopefully green with one exception. Okay, so the prereqcheck finished. We still have a warning, but the warning you can see here is not about .NET 4.8 anymore. It's not about the SQL performs or the SQL backlog on the chains, and it's still only about the HTTP or HTTPS or eHTTP or enhanced HTTP. So this we already know that we are going to fix in the future. So for now, we just need to upgrade. It's quite simple. So the first part's already been done. So for the next part that we are going to do on the next video will be quite simple and easy. But before that, remember, if you like this video, click the like button, share with your friends, co-work, so make sure everyone knows about Configuration Manager, if you like as much as I do. Subscribe if you haven't done so already, and leave your comments and leave any questions you may have. Just use the hashtag AskRaphael. Thank you very much, and see you on the next video.